Hello, this is Giuoco Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. The Italian game is one of the best openings in chess. It's completely solid, very good for beginners to learn how to play. The Giuoco Piano line is probably one that will be very familiar with beginners, and it's also known as the quiet line. The Giuoco Pianissimo is the very quiet line. One of the reasons I moved away from the Italian to Vienna is that it can sometimes be a little bit boring. So, what happened in this game? So my opponent had the white pieces. They led with the Italian. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. What do we do against the Italian? I play the two knights defense. They now play the very solid d3. Now in this position, I normally usually play the h6, but I was a bit on autopilot, and instead I ended up playing bishop to c5. Now this enters the Giuoco Pianissimo, or the very quiet game in the Italian. And as soon as I made this move, I sort of asked myself, why did I just do that? I don't particularly like playing these slower, quieter, highly positional lines. So what I did instead, after getting this position, is that I ended up playing highly dubious, aggressive, gambity sort of moves, and it ended up working really well. Let's see. So my opponent now short castles. I do play h6 just to defend the g5 square. Now they play bishop to e3, and I know that in this position that the best move is probably to take or to bring the bishop back. However, both of those lines are kind of a bit boring. So instead, what I opted to do was to play the highly provocative, very aggressive knight to d4. Stockfish absolutely hates it. It's a blunder. It's about +4. It's worse than this, at higher depth. But what's the logic here? I'm attacking the knight. I'm inviting their knight to take back, and if they take back, I capture back with the bishop. In doing so, I am effectively gambiting my e-pawn, and white should definitely take that pawn. That is a good move for them. But here, I'm immediately moving the game, I suspected, out of the expectation of my opponent. And it kind of worked. So my opponent now played c3. So what can we learn from c3? So this is a mistake. You can see it goes back to equality. Well, it tells me something about the way my opponent will approach chess. So this avoids confrontation. It's slowly trying to kick my knight, so not recognizing the potential, tactical advantage that they had. And so this is very useful. It means that if I play highly aggressive moves, they're likely to respond in such a way that those aggressive moves may well work. So here, what did I do? Of course, capture their knight. That comes with check, brings the queen out. It also takes away one defender from their kingside, and they've already castled kingside. So they take back now, and now defend the bishop. So if they want to take, I'm happy to capture back, opening up potentially the d file for my queen. So they now play h3, and I play another highly provocative move, asking what are they going to do with the bishops. And again, you'll see Stockfish doesn't like this. White is ahead with this. So they should capture. I think that might be their best move. However, if they do take, I get to open up my f-file, and I thought that would potentially be good for me in terms of being able to have an attack on the opponent's king. I suspected that they weren't going to take, that they were going to do some sort of move, which means I have to move the bishop a second time, which would, again, potentially be good for me. I win a bit of tempo. That's exactly what they did. They give a check, easy to block with pawn to c6, bishop forced to move a third time. So again, winning some concessions, and you can see I'm actually very slightly ahead now in the evaluation. queen now to d7. Again, you can see Stockfish hates these provocative moves, but the idea is to form up a battery attacking potentially the the h3 pawn. White now plays very well, so attacking down the center, exactly what they should do. I decide to counterattack their bishop. Here they decided not to go further back to take, and that was actually their best move. You can see that was a difficult move for them to see. A brilliancy. I capture back, they take, and of course this is now a passed pawn, which is why that sacrifice was good for them. At this point, I sort of wondered, should I take back right away with, then having the queen having a problem on the d-file? No, I'm going to further my attack. I'm trying to attack the opponent's king. I'm going to push h5. They now sort of develop their rook to the d-file, and the rationale for that is bishop to g4. Stockfish thinks I'm a complete madman. This is +7. This is absolutely terrible for black. But the logic here is they're going to take, I can take back, I win some tempo, the queen be forced to move, and now the rook has a fully open h-file. This king potentially could be in some trouble. So that's what I did. So takes, captures, queen forced to move. So move once. I thought taking was probably best, but no, I want to develop. I want these rooks to get into the picture. Remember, the evaluation is really bad, +5, +7. Rook to h5, attacking the queen, forcing the queen to take me. King captures, now opening up my back rank, so the rook can now connect with its other rook down the h-file. So they take, slide the king out of the way, and now it's all worthwhile. You can see this was the move that white had to make to give space for their king. The king needs at least 2 moves to be able to avoid back rank mate. And by not making that move, by moving the knight instead, the evaluation is back to equality. All the way from +7, my plan, rook to h8, now doubled up, and now I force win their rook. So they try to move, they have to move, otherwise it's back rank mate. Check, and I take the rook. Absolutely brilliant. Now they capture, this was a good move for them. Now I don't play this bit of the middle game particularly well, so I should have defended the pawn with the king. I thought that was potentially a problem, but it's actually not a problem because I would counterattack that rook. So made a mistake there. Takes here. I wanted them to trade, but they didn't trade. So I'm now potentially, it's a bit tricky, this position. I needed to move this knight in this position because there I would have an attack on the rook. I didn't see that. They now start to develop sort of their knight. And I straight up didn't actually see that was hanging. Check, that's why that was a blunder. Captures back. Of course, they could win now, but they didn't see it. Very lucky for me. Back to equality. And it's actually difficult to play. So I have 2 rooks versus a rook and knight, but with so many pawns on the board, this rook is a little bit trapped, behind enemy lines, so to say, but it can't really get very easily into the match. So that pushes forward. Now that gives me a check. I now push this forward, and that locks it in. Now here I needed to move my king out of the way, and I didn't see it, and that was a mistake. So the opponent makes a very good move. I now move my king into the wrong position, and I realize, hold on, I'm in some trouble here potentially, because in this position, if the rook ever gets onto the back rank, this is potentially mate. So I'm in some trouble. So now they push forward. So here I decide, look, I think I'm going to have to whack it. So I took the knight. That was a mistake. White is now completely winning. They capture back. 2 connected passed pawns with the rook facing off against my king. This is absolutely not good. At this point, I realize something. I realize that White here is going to be trying to push these pawns down to promote. It's the completely logical thing to do. However, if I could get my pawn here, this will be a back rank mate because that pawn would defend that square, and obviously the king can capture its own pawns. And I was sort of sensitized to this because previously I had the rook here, and the king had to move out of the way to avoid back rank mate. So I knew that there was a potential possibility here. So here, moved by my king forward, hoping they would potentially make a mistake, make a blunder. They don't. Here, I go back onto the back rank. At this point, I knew it was now or never. A rook here would be back rank mate because these pawns basically control all the spaces the king can move to. So if you look at Stockfish, Stockfish says the only way to avoid checkmate is to move king here. But the reality is, once I do that, one or both of these pawns will become queens, and I'm lost anyway. And so the goal is not to delay the agony, is not to delay checkmate, is there a possible other attack if you're going to lose anyway? And so, pawn to f3. This hangs back rank mate. This is checkmate. But it requires white to have seen that. Well, I thought that they might get tunnel vision with pushing these pawns. They decide to capture that pawn, move their rook out of the way. And of course, rook now to d1, checkmate, back rank mate from plus m1 to minus m1, good game, GG. My big takeaway from this game is that the psychological impact from highly aggressive moves should not be underestimated, as they are often more successful than what Stockfish evaluation would suggest. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.